Welcome to the Hotelligence Podcast, your strategic vantage point on the changing landscape of hotel safety. Hosted by Jim Kortz, a retired FBI DHS investigator, and Don Carr, a former frontline security owner-operator with years of first-hand incident response experience on hotel properties. Every episode brings you closer to understanding the full picture and what the future may hold. Let's begin.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hotelligence Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 13, Why the Flag Sets the Floor.
On the last episode, we said reasonable depends on the market.
The market sets the standard. Today, we go one layer beneath that.
Because for a branded property, something sits beneath that standard.
Right. It's a floor. And the property didn't draw it.
The flag did. So the brand is a promise in writing, right? A brand standard feels like a marketing document, consistency for the guest.
It is that, but it's also something more exposed. It's a published statement of what a property in this system does.
Yeah, written down, distributed, agreed to when the property took the flag.
And anything written and agreed to can be read back.
After an incident, the brand standard stops being an operations manual.
Correct. It becomes a description of what the property promised it would do, signed in advance. So, it's the floor you didn't set. Last episode, we said a property can't define reasonable downward below its peers.
The flag makes that even sharper. It hands the property a floor in writing.
So a flag property doesn't get to argue it wasn't expected to do something its own brand standard requires.
The expectation isn't inferred from peers anymore. It's documented in the property's own system.
So the floor is no longer a question at that juncture. It's a clause.
Right. And a property operating below its own brand's stated minimum is in a worse position than one that simply fell short of the market.
Because it didn't just miss the standard. It missed the one it agreed to.
So let's talk about the gap between paper and floor. And because it's a pretty dangerous place. The gap between what the brand requires and what the property actually runs.
The standard says the property does X. The property, on a given night, doesn't.
Yeah, maybe staffing or maybe drift or maybe a standard that was really never operationalized.
It doesn't matter why. The gap itself is the exposure. The brand wrote the floor. The property lived beneath it.
And the brand can end up named alongside the property because the standard was theirs too.
And that's its own structural problem. The floor protects the property only when the property actually stands on it.
A standard you hold but don't meet is worse than no standard at all. It's a measure of your own gap, in your own words.
Well said, Jim.
So, and this lands differently depending on the property.
An independent doesn't have a flag handing it a floor. Its floor is the market alone, the standard we talked about last episode.
Yeah, a flagged property carries both, the market standard above, the brand floor beneath, and it has to meet the higher of the two.
A franchise property and a managed one distribute that differently again. The brand, the owner, the operator, each hold a piece of the floor.
So the answer is never to treat the brand standard as paperwork.
Correct. It's to know exactly where your flag set your floor and to make sure the property is actually standing on it, not just filing it.
That's Season 2, Episode 13 of the Hotelligence Podcast.
Next time, we talk about when coverage is not protection. A property does everything we've described, carries insurance for what it can't prevent, and still finds a gap between what's covered and what's exposed. And remember, We're in this together.
And together, we make hospitality stronger.
We publish a short, written insider briefing alongside each episode. The link is in the show notes.
Thank you for joining the Hotelligence Podcast, where experience informs smarter, safer hotel operations and prepares you for what comes next. Stay informed, stay confident, and stay connected. As the conversation evolves, Jim Cords and Don Carr will highlight developments that help hotels strengthen their approach to safety and risk management. See you next episode.